Hello, hello, and welcome to Climbing Sideways, our weird little show where we ask anyone and everyone, what do you do and how did you get there? I'm your host, Adriana de Cervantes. An exciting announcement before we jump in, we have officially booked our first live show. This fall, we'll kick off season 2 of Climbing Sideways with an event at the Doylestown Bookshop on Friday, October 2nd at 6 p.m. More on our mini series of fall events soon. Our guest today is my friend, Sean McIlraith. Sean and I met living on the same hall as college freshmen back in 2009. Sean is an Emmy Award-winning director and editor who spent over a decade at SNL. Sean and his brother Ryan are filmmaking partners. Together, they've cut over 180 pre-taped films during their 7+ seasons at SNL. Their other credits include John Mulaney Presents, Everybody's in LA, Please Don't Destroy the Treasure of Foggy Mountain, The Eric Andre Show, That's My Time with David Letterman, and many more. Their long list of work and accolades is too much for this intro, but I highly encourage you to check out their work. All the links will be in the show notes. All right, let's get to it. Here's my chat with Sean.
This is cool. How long you been doing this?
We started in January. I launched episode 1 on my 35th birthday.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always good to have these things like doing on the side that like keep you going. You know what I mean? That's kind of like my now mid-30s way of like thinking about art, because so much of what we do is just to pay the bills, you know, which is a far cry from when we were dorming together when we were 17 and 18, right?
Oh my God. Seriously. Well, first off, huge thank you for being here, for being willing to jump on and be a part of this funny little thing that I've started. I know you have a ton going on and a baby at home. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's just a lot going on. All good stuff though.
Good. So yeah, I'm really happy to have you here, and I can't wait to hear about all the other things that you've been up to. Before we fully jump in, I also have to say I am such a huge fan of Taryn. I think that's how you say her name.
Oh.
And you just did her Denise videos, like truly are my favorite. And like I'm just like such a huge fan of her. And then when I saw you post her and her friend on your Instagram, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe Sean got to meet Denise. I was like fully fangirling.
Yeah, that was like, I mean, it was like a commercial campaign for AT&T that my brother and I directed. And like, we signed on before they signed on, but it was going to be like influencer, like actors, you know, hopefully like a pair to do this thing where it's just like, you know, basically like a episodic sketch series that's like, you know, basically like a commercial for AT&T where like one of their phone services like keeps dropping because they're not on AT&T. And when they signed on, Katie, right, my wife, had shown me a bunch of their stuff, and they're so freaking funny.
They're so good.
And like they were the best too, because it's like I come from kind of a comedy background. That's like the majority of my work. And like working with them on set, it's like you can only do so much in the script, and they brought so much to it. I'm like so stoked to have worked with them, and we're, you know, knock on wood, going to be working on more stuff together outside of the branded world. So super stoked about that. Yeah, they're the best.
Amazing. Okay. So the first question that I ask everyone is, what did you want to be when you were a kid?
Oh man, a far cry from what I do now. I wanted to be a veterinarian.
You did?
To the point that my high school job was working at an animal hospital.
What were you doing for them?
So it was called like you were the animal attendant. What that basically meant is that you did everything from like mop the floors to like bagging the dead bodies.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, as messed up as that is, that's like truly, that was a big portion of the job that I did not know about when I signed up for it.
Okay.
Somebody's got to do it.
If we're talking about this as a podcast for people to like learn about different industries, career options, whatever, I mean, you as a young kid got to see the real hard side of what that job would be. And I'm guessing that's one of the reasons that you were like, JK, I don't need to be a vet.
It was like, it's like the biggest animal hospital in New Jersey. It was called like Oradell Animal Hospital. It was like 15 minutes from where I grew up. And like, it was such a good experience. You got to do all the fun stuff too. You got to walk the dogs. You got to meet the, you know, like puppies that were brought in and were being sheltered there. It was actually a really rewarding experience. I honestly, it was less about like dealing with death and dealing with like all the blood and guts. It was more about like, I had to have a realistic conversation with myself of like, I'm not good at science and I don't think I can like get through 8 years of college.
Damn.
Going to like, I mean, vet school's 4 years after you get your bachelor's.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I am on a rampage though, where I think that all of us who thought at that age that we were bad at science just had bad science teachers.
Yeah. I want to hear more about your thought process there, because I was better at science than I was math. And I think maybe you as a creative person, or most people listening as creative people, if they are, might relate to that. But I felt like math I just could not do, to the point that like I was just scribbling in, like when they would come around and check your homework, I would just put random numbers. I remember like my math teacher junior year of high school, like she like double taked and she literally was like, out of like a comedy, she was like, "Did you just fill in random numbers?" I was like, that's exactly what I did.
Oh my gosh.
And I had like math tutors and stuff. I couldn't do it. But science, I was always better. It was like the chemistry I could not understand. I couldn't get
Chemistry
it.
broke me. Chemistry broke me. But like, I'm friends with a bunch of, you know, PhD, nerdy scientists and all that kind of stuff. And I do think the teaching, like, had it been different, right? Like what different foundations would I have had if I was given a different way to learn it as a teenager?
Are you like experiencing this with your kids right now? Is that why it's so like top
Oh no,
of
they're
mind?
way smarter than I was. They're way smarter than I was. Like
as all kids should be, right? That's all we can hope for.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, the idea of 8 years of school is daunting, no matter how comfortable you feel with the material.
Yeah, it's just like a tough, you know, I always think of like being creative as a curse. I truly do, as like messed up as that is, because you're like, you need to be fulfilled by the work. You need to almost like train yourself out of like, I'm never going to find fulfillment in like these things I make. They help. And I also think it's like a dangerous thing if you like let it be the thing that defines you, you know, that I've like kind of experienced in my life. So when I was like, I always think I'm like, I should have been a vet. I should have figured it out. But I did. It was like one of the first probably mature decisions I made in my life of just like, you know, you work so hard to be a vet, and then, you know, their dog, in order to survive, needs this like crazy expensive surgery. And obviously like healthcare is messed up for humans. Imagine it for, you know, our pets. And, you know, all of a sudden the owner's like screaming at you. Like, it has like a high suicide rate, being a veterinarian.
I know it does.
Is this getting dark too quick?
No.
It was just like, you know, it's like one of the first like, I don't know, quote unquote adult lessons of like, okay, I feel like this isn't what I should do.
So how old were you when you had that thought that like, okay, I'm gonna look into other things?
17, I think 17.
Okay. So as you're trying to figure out what you want to go to college for.
Mm-hmm. So this is the other funny thing. My wife, Katie, we've been together for basically 20 years now. So we were like next door neighbors growing up, and she was always like my best friend and all these things. And she's also like, you know, an artist, like went to school for sculpture. And I basically like didn't do the college thing. You know what I mean? Like I never like visited colleges. I like always was like, I want to go to like NYU Film School. That sounds so cool. That's where the Coen brothers went. That's where like Spike Lee went, Martin Scorsese. I was like, I love movies, and like I was a creative guy. That was another part of it. My high school, I was very fortunate. I say this all the time. My high school was wonderful. They had like a television program, and they had a dark room. Like I took fine art photography all 4 years of high school. Mm-hmm. And I think like that in conjunction with like working at an animal hospital thinking I was going to be a vet, I was like experiencing, you know, really cool, a TV studio in high school, taking those classes, a film studies class I took in high school. And on top of that, 4 years of fine art photography, that just helped. But then when it came time to college, literally Katie, my wife, did my college, my college applications, because I was just so much of a scatterbrain, recently diagnosed with ADHD. So I think it makes sense, like cannot focus, biggest procrastinator ever. And she just like helped me, I think it was like Christmas break. Like I applied so late to college. Like I think I skated in. It was crazy. I had no
idea.
Yeah. So when cause we went to Pratt Institute together, right? I got some sort of like, not a crazy scholarship, but some sort of scholarship there. Didn't get into NYU because, like I said, I couldn't do math. Just got straight D's and F's. So I didn't have like a great GPA.
Well, I had a good GPA and I didn't get into Tisch. So if that makes you feel any better.
It does.
It's the only school I didn't get into.
That does make me feel better, but so I ended up, she basically got me. I did make the decision of like, everybody's telling me not to go to art school. It's a dumb thing to do. But I was like, it's the only thing I like to do,
That's like really well balanced with like, I shouldn't be a vet. Let me be responsible. Then let me go. I truly, I don't mean that sarcastically. Like you're like, I'm going to go pursue something that I really love and that I really enjoy. So did you only apply to art schools?
I only applied to art schools. It was a little broad. Like I got into like Syracuse. I guess they had like a communication school. I know a couple people that went there, but it was like, School of Visual Arts, Tisch, I might have applied to USC Film School. God, we're so old now. I can't remember. But it was like, I knew I like had this, both of my parents, like in both sides of those families are from New York City. Like my parents grew up in Brooklyn. I was born in Rockaway. So like, I felt like New York City was like calling me. So I always felt like I wanted to go. I'm one of 6 kids, right? Tight knit Irish Catholic family. So I never saw myself being the type of person where it's like, I'm going to go move across the country, to go study photography and film.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, so then you ended up at Pratt. It took me some memory searching to remember, but we were Pantis Hall. I can't remember what floor, but we were Pantis Hall.
I think it was the 4th floor.
Was it? We were all the way at the end. We were all the way at the end.
Sixth. I think 4th floor was Willoughby for me. Yeah. Okay. Next year.
Okay, so you switched from Pratt to NYU. What was the decision-making factor around that? I feel like, at the time, Pratt's film program wasn't as well respected or renowned. Or was the goal always NYU and you just didn't get in the first time around?
I think I was a pretty, like, nihilistic kid, teenager, whatever we were, young adult, and I felt like once I didn't get in, it was one of those things where like, well, I'm never going there. So I also like, probably didn't have good self-esteem, and when I didn't get in, I was like, yeah, dude, you suck. Your grades are terrible. Of course you didn't get in. And I did, like, Pratt, is like a really prestigious art school. I just like, I think like it was a matter of like wanting to be in New York City. But I remember at the time, like, quickly learning that I felt like it wasn't right for me. I mean, just to say that I'm sure the film program's like great there now. I'm not trying to disparage. There was also like so many cool people I met there and worked with that are so great. I thought the film program was terrible. I thought the photography program was cool. Like, cause we were in like photography classes. Yeah. I was like minoring in fine art photography. And honestly, I had more technical experience doing that, I felt like, than in their film program. And I think it was like the adult conversation of like, okay, this is a really hard industry. My like tough Brooklynite, scary Irish Catholic parents are already like mad at me for going to art school. And I also have I was always a person where I was like, I have to like work and form a career out of this. Like I never saw myself as a person who just is like, I don't want to disparage it, and I'm not trying to, because I like envy it all the time. And sometimes I like look back on my career as of now and like wish I took more risks early on. I was pretty like cautious, risk averse person. So I'm not even saying like what I did was the right thing. I just knew for me, just like being creative for creative sake and like being a barista or like, a waiter or something, which again, so many people I respect and some of my personal heroes in my industry did that. So it's like no rub on them, because again, I genuinely sometimes when I'm lying awake at night, like wish I did that. Like what would that have looked like? I just knew it wasn't me at the time. I just like too much guilt, Irish Catholic guilt, anxiety. I was like, I need to have a career, and Pratt just wasn't offering that. Like I remember like sophomore year, like our like film professor, I won't name him, but he like took us all outside, and I just remember everybody was so downtrodden. He was like, "Are any of you happy with this program?" And nobody raised their hand.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was like bad. And I also, I've talked to other Pratt people. This is like a controversial thing. I did not like the foundation thing. It never made sense to me.
Interesting.
Because I think if you want to be a well-rounded artist, that's like great and that's cool, but there's so little time in 4 years when you're like, for example, like for what I do, make your thesis film, like also trying to become more like technically, astute while building yourself creatively. I was spending so much time, and I like really, when I got to college, like I became a different person, like focused, no procrastination, buckled down. Like that's how I was able to transfer to NYU, because I was like, no funny business. But I just felt like I spent so much time like drawing, making sculptures, painting, where I was like, if I was able to, and taking like 1 or 2 film classes a semester, I just so rubbed against their whole ethos that I was like, I just feel like this isn't me.
That's so interesting. I think like at some point, like early on in the first semester, I just like drank the Kool-Aid, and I just like got to a point where I believed that like doing this thing would teach me how to compose, would teach me how to see, would teach me how to like look at light in a different way. And like, pick up this like technical skill. The one that it did not work for me is 3-dimensional design. And like what I think it taught me about myself is that like, this is such a silly way to say it, but what I learned is I'm a flat-brained person. Like I can only make things good if they are flat. I can't, like, that is just the only way that I'm able to sort of like create and compose. Like as soon as anything is supposed to have like additional shape and dimension, like I can't, like my brain can only think of it flat.
I mean, first of all, that's so fun, a flat, but I'm like thinking like, like I immediately thought like possum smooth brain. I was like, is that what's, it's like, is that what she's saying? That's it. I mean, it's interesting because like, it's like when you're like lighting a shot in filmmaking, even in photo, right? You're like in a room, in a location, looking around. Like it's a perfectly 3D world, but then it is true. It's like you are looking through it through a viewfinder. Yeah, I've never thought of it that way before. So that was like part of my thing with like leaving Pratt. I just was like, I need to, because it's a short 4 years and then you're like looking for a job, right? So I was like, I need to like actually feel like I'm prepared for something.
And you knew that NYU was better equipped to give you the technical skills and maybe also the connections?
100%. And that's like, it's working in this industry, especially in New York for this long, like people, it's always that thing like, oh, where'd you go to school? NYU, they just like roll their eyes. And it's like, but it is true. It's like the connections you get there. Like, I didn't know anybody in the film industry when I went, like none of my family, you know what I mean? My parents were like, you going to make movies? Like, we don't understand. Like, just go, what? Like, go work in IT, go work in finance. What the hell are you doing, dude? Like, be a plumber. But yeah, so like the connections you get at NYU, like truly, like maybe it's like an unfair thing, but it was like,
It's the way the world works.
Right. It's like this guy, Sam Pollard, who like I kind of saw as a mentor in NYU and I like loved his classes. He was Spike Lee's editor. You know what I mean? He like is like an Oscar nominated filmmaker and he's like teaching you like the history of editing. You know what I mean? He's teaching you like he was my thesis teacher. So I think like sophomore year of Pratt, I just buckled down and we're like, I applied to a lot of places, but I was like, I had my sights on NYU, got in and just like kind of, left Pratt, never looked back.
Amazing. So how did you end up at SNL? Was that like your first gig out of school or did you do anything else before then?
I did. What did I do before then? My first internship was for this place called Insignia Films, and they were doing like documentaries for PBS. So cool. Like it was a really cool job. They were like doing this documentary series for PBS with Buddy Squires, who's like Ken Burns' cinematographer. And I was doing like equipment pickups, doing like transcriptions. It was really cool. Then like my first year at NYU, this guy named Chris Voss, who was a producer at SNL, he like produced like The Lonely Island, the digital shorts. Mm-hmm. He spoke in like a TV class that I didn't even want to take. It was like called TV Programming and Concepts. It was taught by this guy, God, I'm forgetting his name, Andrew Goldman, who was like an executive at HBO, and it was basically about like, programming and like TV, but he would have like guest speakers coming in. There was this guy, Chris Voss, producer, digital shorts, SNL film unit. He put his like email address and phone number on the board. He was like, anybody want an internship? Like, come on down. And like SNL was always like, to me, it was always in my life. Like in high school, I loved The Lonely Island. So like seeing like a dude who like produces their pre-tapes, like just put his email on the board and be like, yeah, hit me up for an internship. I was like, holy shit. Like, I'm definitely going to hit him up. And like, I never thought, like, a lot of people go to SNL because they want to be like in the talent thing or producing. I was purely like filmmaker. Like, I want to be in that film unit and like loving the digital shorts. This just seemed like some sort of really cool opportunity. Emailed him. I think like didn't hear for months. And then September of 2012, like right before season 38 was starting, he was like, hey, do you want to come like intern for us in our post-production department? And at the time, you weren't even
finished college at this point.
No, I started at SNL in college. I was an intern. Yeah. I had it's crazy. It was a long, crazy journey. I basically spent my 20s there.
That's nuts.
Like 10 years. But ended up going there, and it was just like, for me, again, somebody who was like, I want a job and I'm like terrified of this industry and like whatever. I fell so in love with that place. And like more so, like less about the like celebrities and less about like the, the live part of it and all that stuff. Obviously, it's been around for 51 years and it's like the allure of it is like, it's iconic and all these things. And, I remember watching like the Chris Farley, like best of in the 90s, you know what I mean? That tape, the Will Ferrell when I was like, 10, 11 years old. Watching
Will Ferrell
as
a cheerleader is my personal favorite.
Yeah. Right. But like that's, and
with
it's
Cherry
like, it's
O'Terry.
so that's what, right. Sherry O'Terry, who's, an amazing comedian herself. But I just like, it wasn't for me about all of that. Like, I never thought about SNL. It was never like a goal. It just like kind of, again, it was like that NYU connection and also just like in the right place at the right time. I didn't even want to take that class that, he put his email on the board. But ended up there. And it was really like, once I was there and I saw like the SNL film unit doing these like crazy, either music video, we call them pre-tapes, so music video, commercial parody, short film, whatever it may be, doing that every week over and over again. I just was like, this is like where I want to be. This is where I should be. And I just like, interned there for a year. It was season 38. So it was like 2012, 2013. And then I graduated college. had to go get a job, wanted to go back to SNL, and they were like, sorry, we're not hiring right now. But Lorne Michaels, who, you know, is the creator of SNL, he has his own like production company, Broadway Video, and they just started their own like Funny or Die or College Humor called Above Average, and they're like hiring, you know, you should hit them up. So I hit them up, and then lo and behold, like literally I was there. I think I started working there August of 2013. I was working at Above Average, but I got hit up, you know, season 39 SNL. Hey, do you want to come like freelance and, you know, be an assistant editor? Amazing. So it was just like this like weird thing where like I then like thought like, okay, I'm like still in like the SNL orbit, but then I like got hired as a freelance assistant editor. So I was like back, not just like interning, like working for the film unit.
Yeah.
And then I think 2015, I got hired full time.
Amazing.
So I was like the in-house editor at SNL from like 2015 to 2022.
Can you explain to us what it's like to be in that job? I feel like people who don't have any concept of how long these things typically take, maybe they don't understand how crazy it is to do all of that in a given week. But when you watch an episode of SNL, the shorts that you guys have done are like peppered throughout to give them time to change, or is that wrong?
Yeah, that's like the purpose of the shorts. They used to do shorts like they always did them. You see like John Belushi, like, you know, he's like training for like the Olympics or something, and he's like, you know what gets me through my training? Chocolate donuts, because he's like obviously an out of shape person. It was like a commercial parody, right? Yeah. That was done in like 1976, 1977. So they always did. Albert Brooks was doing short films the first season at SNL. They always did pre-tapes, but they would like do them kind of outside of the show, whether like do them in the summer or like have like Albert Brooks, who like wasn't really involved with the show other than like doing his own short films and submitting them, where like what's kind of happened since like The Lonely Island started it, right, is that they do like short films every week now, and they'll do anywhere between 2 to 3 of them. So they have like their own internal film unit. They have like, I think it's 2 film units now that switch off. But in my day, it was 3. Sometimes they would shoot 4 if it was like a really crazy week or something. Mm-hmm. And they knew one was going to get cut and they would bounce it around. But are you asking me to like summarize this
I just
job?
Because
it's like insane.
Yeah. I mean, I just know, like, again, we've kept in touch mostly via Instagram, and like on and off, you being like, haha, here's the edit that I did from like whatever to 2 a.m. to make sure that this was ready for like blah, blah, blah. Like, it just always seemed so nuts. And
yeah.
Cool, but also the people who are watching it are just like, oh, that was a fun 3-minute thing, like perhaps with no idea of like the scramble that happens in the background to put it on the screen on Saturday night.
You read like the YouTube comments are like SNL sucks or like that was terrible, and you're like, oh cool, I just like stayed up for 90 hours working on that, but yeah, no problem. So it's just, you know, at SNL they like do like writer's night all night Tuesday. Wednesday they do a read through. Wednesday night when I worked there, you would basically like, you would get like an email at night, oh hey, this is the piece your unit's doing, like whatever. Thursday you're like meeting with like the director, talking about the thing. Typically they shoot Friday afternoon, but they could shoot Friday night into Saturday morning. Like I remember multiple times in my career there, they wouldn't get off set till like 8:30 in the morning on Saturday, and you would be at 30 Rock like working already. You would get there at like 4 in the morning to be like, all right, well, some of the footage is in. You're basically working like parallel with them. Like when I first started there, they would like go, I was like an assistant editor. So I'd be in like a pass van going from like location to location, getting footage from the camera people, syncing it, and then emailing projects to the editor at 30 Rock. Who was like, you know, working parallel. When I started editing, it was the same thing, but you would have to make that decision of like, okay, we're like, if they're shooting till 8:30 in the morning or they're just going to go late, I'm going to come in at 4 in the morning and just start on whatever I have director will probably be in at noon. Writers will come into the room at 2 p.m. Right?
And say what? The writers at that point are looking at what cut you have. They're looking
at the cut.
How many people are in there?
It depends. Sometimes it was a lot. Sometimes it was like one person. If a cast member wrote on a piece, like sometimes like hosts wrote on pieces, and a couple hosts like came up to the room and like wanted to see the thing, which is like, it's beneficial, but for every time somebody comes up to the room, you have to like stop down.
Yeah.
And like the clock is ticking. Like you have to like, if they do a dress rehearsal at 8 p.m. So you have to like, that doesn't mean like, oh, it's like going to dress at 8:30, my pre-tape. That means, no, I got to lock no later than 7 p.m. so I can send it to mix and so I could send it to color. The assistant editor has been like, sending to color the entire time, right? So you're like, everything's coming together, visual effects, like titles, graphics, all these things. So it's like it's like insane. It's just like it definitely like aged me. Like my father-in-law like saw me like I don't know. It was like maybe like I left SNL this like September of 2022. Again, it was like a 10-year run from like intern to their head editor, and I left. And like I remember my father-in-law saw me. He was like, I like grew my beard out. He was like, your beard is gray. I was like, yeah, because I like didn't sleep for 10 years, just like running on adrenaline and fear.
Oh my gosh.
At all times. But like, it's such a cool place. Like it's like obviously, an incredible thing, but there's no place like it, right? Like now a lot of what I work in, like whether it's like long form, even like commercials, sometimes like you'll finish something, you won't see it for months. I've worked on things where it didn't come out for over a year.
Yeah.
Like walked away and it did not air on TV for a year. I worked on a feature film, like edited on a feature film. It did not, like I walked away from the project. It did not premiere for a year. And it's like crazy to like wrap your head around that. Where SNL, what I found to be the most rewarding thing is like the live audience factor of it. There's nothing better than like, I've been like going back this season to help my friend as a writer there, and he gets his own pre-tapes on the show. So I've been like kind of guesting, going back to like edit a little, which is just like fun. It's like, if you had the chance to go back to college, high school, would you? It's like, yeah, sure. Why not? It's like, and it's like better than that. Cause like, it's like, it really feels like a home and a family. Like when you work there for so long, you can always go back, right? You're always, it's like just, you're part of the family. Right. And, the most rewarding thing is like when a piece slams with the audience and you're like actually like on the floor in the studio at SNL 8H, like hearing that. And then even if it doesn't, the best thing about SNL was like you completely bombed and whiffed with the audience. You got cut. You spent all that time. You shrug your shoulders and you go, okay, we'll do it again next week. You know what I mean? Like we'll try again. You're just always at bat. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like brutal and it's terrible, but there's just no place like it. Right. Yeah. And I think when I was like an intern, I recognized that. And that's why I like worked so hard to get there and like form a place there. But I definitely like probably took 10 years off my life. Probably more, actually.
We're here for a good time, not for a long time, right?
Yep.
I've been asking my son Gabriel to ask questions. And so I was trying to explain to him exactly what you do. And I was like letting him flip through your Instagram earlier. And his question was SNL related. So I will ask it now and then we will move on from the SNL subject.
Great.
Gabriel wanted to know what your most memorable episode was. If you have one.
My most memorable episode. Yeah. I have so many. I don't know. It's like hard to define. That's a good question, Gabriel. I like that question because I had, not to like, tip the thing. I think I just got so burnt out at that place, especially coming off COVID because we still stayed on the air, that like I didn't have like the best exit from there, as like so many people don't. And I think that's just like, I left on my own terms, decided to leave. Katie, my wife, was basically like, I think, like halfway through my last season was like, I think you should go. And at that point, my last season, I went freelance. So I was like, I should go. But I think like when I look back on it, like I remember interning and it was like, and again, like I never worked there for the celebrity part of it. But when I realized I was in like a cool place, is like, it was like Martin Short was hosting the Christmas episode, and like, I was like out. I used to, when I was an intern, I would like sit in the control room, you know, behind like the directors and the producers and script supervisors and record the rehearsals. And I went to go get coffee, and like right behind me was like Chris Novoselic, because he was like guesting. He was like the bassist in Nirvana, and I was a huge Nirvana fan. And I was like, oh, this is such a cool place to be. And then it was like, you know, Paul McCartney is doing whatever. But like what was really special was I left, to answer Gabriel's question, why that book ends, like it was like Paul McCartney. I left SNL at the end. It was like season 47. It was my last season. I decided to leave, took a job in LA working on a movie with some friends and SNL people. And I came back to SNL for the 50th anniversary last year, and it was like so nice to come back. It was like all like buddies, like seeing everybody. It was really like being home, and everybody was in a good vibe. It was none of that like war, you know, 1,000-yard stare of like, oh, we're at the end of a 4-episode run. It was like everybody was really like happy to see. It was like just multiple generations of people. And I got hit up like, hey, Paul McCartney's like rehearsing in 8H and you can just walk in. And I just was like, really? So I like walked in, and like, you know, I was back in 8H for the first time in 3 years. And this sounds so lame, but he was doing like Golden Slumbers, like Carry That Weight, like these just like iconic Beatles songs. And I'm like, you know, sitting there watching him from 20 feet away, and I just started crying because it was like,
I don't think that's lame. I think that would bring me to tears too, 100%.
It was, but that was like, to me, when I look back, like I wanted more in my career, and I tried to do it at that show, but I just kind of realized I wasn't gonna. I was kind of where I was, and like people loved me there, and people wanted me to stay, and I could stay as long as I wanted, but I wasn't going to progress. And I had that thing. I just got married, turned 30. So I felt like if I don't leave now, I never will. I'll turn around and be 40, which like wasn't true, but I was like psyching myself. I was just like, there's more I want to do, and there's more I can do. And I like want to direct more. That was always my goal. Like editing was always a way to direct. But just coming back to that place where like I feel like I spent my entire 20s, I like grew up so much there, and like it's like Paul McCartney, and I just remembered that Christmas episode where he was a musical guest, and I just was like, you know, sitting there with like friends from like multiple generations of the show, people that I got hired at the show. My brother was there, and I just remember like crying to myself, and I was like, this was a really special thing in a special place and a good way to spend your 20s, you know.
That's amazing.
So that's my answer, Gabriel. Good question.
And what a great segue into like what's going on now, and what are you most excited about doing next? What are you working on? I know you said you went to LA to work on a movie.
Yeah, I decided to leave SNL in 2022. Had a couple conversations with producers and people there about, you know, just like my career and what I wanted to do. And, you know, again, it was like I was burnt out, probably a little grumpy, and, you know, things were said that never came to fruition. So I was like, I want to do more. The show just won't afford me that. So I'm just going to go. My friends, you know, who I had worked with on my last season got this movie in LA that Judd Apatow was producing. And I was like, got the opportunity to like work on it. And I just was like, okay, if I don't do this now, when am I going to do this? Like Katie and I didn't have kids at the time. And it was like, yeah, let's go do this. And so worked on, you know, that for a couple of months. And I don't know how dark we want to go, but then I came back and like the industry just crashed, but I also had a mental breakdown at the same time because I just like 10 years at SNL was so burnt out, went to LA, just like upended my life, worked on this movie, which I thought, you know, I'm like sitting editing with Judd Apatow. He's literally reading a newspaper, like sitting next to me down, at my desk. I was like, this is something like I used to, like I saw Funny People Thursday night screening when I was in high school. I was like, this is like a dream for me. But I was having this thing where I was just like in crisis because I was like, I do want to direct. I'm now like in LA working on something where I was just like, I felt so like, whether it was just like the 10 years of burnout from SNL, just like crazy coming to terms with like some like anxiety, mental health stuff. I just like had a full-time like collapse, came back to New York in like January 2023 and was like, okay, I just worked nonstop for years. Even that summer I did like Eric Andre show, a couple shows for Netflix. I was like, I'm done. I'm toast. I need to like relax,
take a break.
Took 2 months off work, and then the industry collapsed because of the strikes. It was like the actor and the writer strike. So it was like 9 months of no work. It was just like, oh my God. So then I like tried to redial what I like wanted to do. And my brother, who was like my filmmaking partner, we were like, you know what, let's just go make a short film. So we like made a short film, and that was kind of, again, it was like I always wanted to direct. Editing was just like, I only think I'm a good editor because I'm a good filmmaker. And I'm not trying to like shit on editing. I am an editor. Like I still edit. But I was like, I want to direct and I just want to like slow my pace down a little and like work on cool things. So we went and made a short film. And then trying to think about our career was like, we want to market ourselves more as like filmmakers. And so then, once that kind of started the ball rolling of like directing more commercials and directing more like branded stuff, and then like, more opportunities in like, short form content. But then also, we take a lot of meetings now for like episodic things for, streamers and TV. So that's my long-winded way of saying like what I'm up to now is like I still edit. That we have to pay the bills, and that kind of goes back to what I was saying before of like I'm just like a cautious person that I feel like I need to work and had like established 10 years of editing, right, TV. So I'm that's not going to go away, but like I feel like I'm in this process of like I'm slowly moving more into directing, and I don't know what that looks like in a couple years from now, but like it's a path that we just keep chipping at. But if I could look back from when I like went through all that like mental stuff and then like the strikes and everything from like now until then, I feel like I'm like proud of what I've accomplished both in editing and in directing. Like I feel like it's just it's just more about like I worked at a place where it was so immediately gratifying and you were just always on the move, and it was always like one episode after the next. That was the special thing about it. And it's now trying to slow down and like be like, no, it's a process. Like it actually does take that time. That thing of like you finish that movie and it didn't come out for a year. That's actually what it is. So like, you're never going to get that back. So just like you have to be on this now, like forward progression and path of like, it takes time and you just got to keep swinging.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense, or is that
100%? 100%.
What I want to say is like, I feel like my son has really centered me in the way of like, I now know that like my filmmaking will never fulfill me. It just won't. That's like been part of like my 30s and like going through all this is like it fulfills me, but it's not gonna be the fulfillment. It's not gonna be the thing. This isn't my life. This isn't what like my identity is wrapped up too much in what I do, So I feel like having my son, which was something I always wanted to do, like starting a family. So many people were like, wait, like, and I'm 34. I'm not young, but it's like this weird thing in the creative industry where it's like people are like, oh, like so many people don't, or they make you feel like you should be worried about it. I was just like, I'm just going to start to like live my life a
Hell
little,
yeah.
Slow it down and just not, because it's like living at that pace and like with that much, like anxiety and worry and stuff. It's just not good for anybody.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, or is that?
Yeah. No, the fulfillment thing is kind of like a sort of big philosophical question. And I think anybody who makes art in any way, shape, or form has to come to their own terms with what that means for them.
Yeah. And it's like I don't know if you ever went through this. I might have said this, but every day I think about leaving my industry. But that's also nothing new. Like I always thought that way. But I feel like that is part of the creative curse. Like you're always like, and it goes both ways, right? I was talking about like, I have friends that are like super, I know they don't work as hard as me and I know they make a lot more money than me. I just think that's like the eternal battle. It's like, like when you're in a creative field, unless you like, you're that like top 1% that just truly makes it and hits it out of the park. It's like, do you ever feel fully secure, especially with so much uncertainty?
Yeah.
AI and all that stuff.
100%. That's why I'm making the show. When I was in school, I just learned about all these things that I didn't know were jobs. And I was like, if I can just share this information with anyone at any age who's trying to figure out what they want to do, whether they're like thinking about going to college, they're graduating college, or they're like navigating a career change, like I'm just here to have interesting conversations and share them. So I think all of these insights are incredibly valuable.
I hope I don't freak them out. Like people who want to go to film school.
I think it's important for people to recognize. I think it's genuinely important for people to recognize how hard it is, especially like film is this industry where like people can criticize all they want, but if no one goes into film, then we don't have TV and movies to watch. So
yeah, but that's another part of the like imposter syndrome thing. Like college kids like always reach out to me and like want to talk, and I truly try to like talk to all of them, if not at least sending them an email. And like I always tell them two things. I'm like, never be afraid to reach out to anybody. Mm-hmm. Never, like, what's the worst that's going to happen? They don't respond. It's not like the Devil Wears Prada. They're not going to like send you like a crazy rude email. Like, I mean, they could, but I'm like, I've never seen that happen. So I think you're okay. Like, you have nothing to lose if you don't even have a career to begin with. So like, always send the email, always reach out. Don't be afraid to send the follow-up if they don't respond. Like, you just got to try, do whatever you can. But I always try to keep it real. I never tried to sugarcoat it. Like something about creative industries that I think maybe people think about, but it's like you are going to do a lot. Like if you get hired full time somewhere, you get hired wherever, you're going to work so hard. You're going to do so much. You're not going to get paid shit. Yeah. And that's like a thing, like that was like a hard lesson for me. Like my first full-time job, I made nothing. Like again, I'm privileged and I got to move in with my parents for 2 years right out of college to like save money and like work and make nothing. You know what I mean? Just like so I could afford those opportunities to get hired at SNL. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not fair because there's a lot of people that need to make money. They can't take a 9-to-5 job in the film industry at some production company and be paid not enough to live in the city where they need to live. That it's just an unfortunate reality, and it's a sickness of the creative industry, but it's true. It's true. It's just like they do not pay enough. Yeah. You will not make enough money to like support yourself at first. You're just expected to eat shit.
I know, it's awful.
It's awful. It's just, and I really, again, I sound like such an asshole. I just try to keep it real. It's like, you have to know that going in.
Yeah. It's like, you just have to want it bad enough to want to work through that to get to a place where that's no longer the case for you anymore. And so I think it's good for everybody to understand what that first phase of work looks like.
Yeah. Was it the same for like photography? Because I just remember I like knew it. That was always a thing. Like, it's, creative industries are like harder, more opaque, tougher. But like I truly, like when I got my first job offer was like, I'm not going to be able to afford the bus into the city. Like what? Yeah.
I got my first job because of someone else that I knew from Pratt was already working there as a graphic designer. And it was crazy too, because they basically were like, here's the offer. Don't counter offer. We don't accept counter offers. This is what it is.
Yeah, that's what I mean though. It's like, that's an insane thing to say.
It was like $42,000. I don't even know how I did it. I don't know how I paid rent. I don't know. Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah.
It was totally nuts.
It's crazy. I'll just say it because I have nothing to. My first job was $26,000, 9 to 5.
In the year 2013.
In the year 2013.
Holy shit, that's
NYU.
crazy.
Yeah. And I was at the time working as an audio visual technician. Not like I did it part-time in college on top of interning just to like make money. But then I like graduated college in May and was doing that until I got hired in August. But yeah, that's like I didn't really start making money until I was like in my late 20s, you know? And,
yeah,
but at
crazy.
that time I'd like kind of like, you know, been working for like, you know, big television show, but also started freelancing for other big networks and stuff on their TV shows and specials. So I truly like, and I again, I don't say it like, I'm not trying to like put anybody down. It's just like, I try to just be real with the creative people.
No, that's crazy. I wasn't expecting it to be that low.
Yeah.
Okay. I am so grateful for all of your time. Is there anything else that you want to share about projects you're working on, things you're excited about, things you're doing outside of work? Anything else you want to share? How you kind of like do balance that, you know, walking, listening to podcasts while you're hanging out with the baby?
Yeah. I think I'm trying to prioritize just like directing more, but also like I'm really excited to like figure that out with like having a baby boy. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's so far it has. I've been working, I've been directing, I've been editing, and like, you know, obviously Katie is just like a true, you know, she's literally keeps it all together and she's the best. I feel like we're a good team. But it has been like really gratifying to be like, oh, you can do this and like, you know, raise a family. So it's been like a good couple months, and I feel like more optimistic. Just coming off of all that negative stuff, just skip through that, get to this part. You know, I'm proud of the last couple of years of work I've done, whether it's like editing or directing, and I'm just like looking forward to being a dad where like I'm just not going to let this industry define me.
Amazing. That's perfect. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me. This was great. I hope that was good and usable.
Thanks so much for listening to Climbing Sideways. Special shout out to Sean for making time for this interview with a new baby at home. You can follow Sean on Instagram at Sean McIlraith, spelled SeanMcIlraith, or check out his website, McIlraithBrothers.com. As always, infinite thanks to Zubin Hensler for all the mixing and original music for the show. If you're on Substack, follow us there, climbingsideways.substack.com. And of course, we're on Instagram and Threads at Climbing Sideways Pod. Please subscribe, share, rate us a review. And as I mentioned before, I'm working on postcards. So if you want a handwritten note from me, shoot me a DM or send me an email, climbingsidewayspod@gmail.com. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another conversation. Thanks so much. Bye.